Hello everyone and welcome to today's 6th grade ELA lesson. I am going to share my screen so that we can see our PowerPoint for today. And our topic is going to be arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence. Alright, so today's goal is that we will be able to identify the arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence in a text and create our own arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence. So, on today's agenda, we are first going to be reviewing our vocabulary terms. After that, we'll be going over some examples of arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence. Following that, we will have a read aloud where we will identify the arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence that the author provides. Next, we'll pick our own topic and find the argument, claim, reasons, and evidence for that. And finally, we will recap and conclude our lesson. So the materials that you will need today are paper and a pencil. So let's get started with our vocabulary. So we have 5 vocabulary terms that we're going to focus on. And the first one is persuade. So persuade means to convince someone of one's own point of view. And it's good to remember that there's always going to be at least 2 sides to the issue. So some of the issues that you might be trying to persuade someone on are getting a dog versus not getting a dog, or getting a raise in the allowance versus not getting a raise is the opposing view. Or dogs are better than cats. And then the opposing view would be cats are better than dogs. So you can see that there's always going to be at least 2 angles to any issue that you're trying to persuade someone about. Our next vocabulary word is argument. And an argument or arguments are reasons that are given to persuade another person to accept one's own point of view. So basically, if you break down the components of an argument is a claim, which will be our next vocab word, a claim plus the reasons and evidence and details. So an argument is made up of a few different components. So let's break up those components. Let's break those down. So a claim is the person's point of view or opinion. So again, this can be either an opinion or a statement, such as dogs are better than cats, or conversely, cats are better than dogs. So the person is claiming one way over another. Now, another vocabulary word is reasons, and reasons are basically an explanation for why the person believes his or her own point of view is correct. And this can use keywords such as because, since, as a result, etc. Such as dogs are better than cats because they are friendlier. So I had a claim that dogs are better than cats, and I gave my reason because they are friendlier. Now, of course, one could argue the opposite as well. Maybe cats are better than dogs because, and then for a different reason. All right, and our final vocabulary word is evidence. Evidence is like proof or facts that support the person's point of view. So it's not just an opinion, it's actual proof and facts. Okay, so I'm going to provide an example. So if my topic is about recycling, and my argument would be, recycling should be required because it reduces pollution and is good for the environment. So notice that there's a couple of components to my argument. First, I have my claim, which is recycling should be required, and then I provide my reasons and evidence. So I provide additional details. Recycling should be required because it reduces pollution and is good for the environment. Now my claim is going to be my opinion, my statement. In this case, it would be everyone should be required to recycle. So notice that I don't really give reasons in my claim. That's a section of the argument. The argument is the claim plus the reasons and evidence. Then breaking it further, you have the claim, everyone should be required to recycle. And then we have our reasons and evidence. My 3 reasons could be, well, recycling is good for the environment. It reduces the trash in landfills. So this is an example of a landfill right here where it's basically a bunch of trash that's put together or accumulated. So all of this is trash. You can see that it's huge, a huge area. So it reduces the trash in landfills by recycling, and recycling is easy to do. So those are my 3 reasons, and I'm going to have some evidence for my 3 reasons. So for my first reason of good for the environment, I have my evidence that recycling reduces the need to use more raw materials, since we can reuse what we recycle. Another piece of evidence is that, well, there's less air and water pollution when we use recycling. And again, this is just an example, so you don't have to memorize it at all, just kind of to illustrate. Okay, so my second reason would be that recycling reduces trash in landfills. So my evidence could be items that are recycled get reused or repurposed, avoiding the landfills. And a lot of the time, evidence is based on facts and research. So I might not have known all of this from the top of my own head, but that's okay because I was able to research it and pull it from credible sources. Credible means that the sources are backed by facts, they're believable. All right, and my third reason is that recycling is easy to do. Based on my evidence, well, anyone can start recycling. You don't really have to be like a certain age in order to recycle. It's not like you have to be like 18 in order to start recycling. Instead, you can start recycling at any age. Now, another piece of evidence is that recycling bins are fairly common. And a third piece of evidence is that people can put recyclable items in a large cardboard box and non-recyclables in a bag. So it's really easy to just be able to separate recyclables from trash. Super easy. So that all supports my reason that recycling is easy to do. Okay, so that was my example of my argument broken down into the claim with reasons and evidence. So now it is time for a read aloud. And questions that we are going to think about for this read aloud are, what argument is the author trying to make? So remember that argument is going to be both the claim plus the reasons and evidence behind that claim. So argument is always going to have a few components to it. So what argument is the author trying to make? Next question will be, what is the author's claim? So what opinion is the author giving? What statement is that author giving? Then you look at what are the author's reasons and evidence. Again, reasons and evidence. So what are the supporting facts that are backing up the author's claim? Okay, so the title of this book is called The Wheelchair, and it is by Elisa Linovitz-Snader, and it's illustrated by Kimberly Gerworth-Robb. All right, and again, we'll be looking for the argument, the claim, and the author's reasons or evidence. All right, so let's read it together. It all started one day while walking to school with my mother. I saw it, and I was scared. There's a girl riding by in a wheelchair. I hid behind my mother, and she told me, "It's okay. She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." I put my coat on the hanger that had my name on it, and the wheelchair hung her coat right next to mine. I heard my mom's voice. "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." I went to the desk with my name on it, and the wheelchair sat next to me. Again I heard, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." During class, the wheelchair kept raising her hand and answering all of the teacher's questions. I thought, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." At lunch, the wheelchair sat right by me. I thought, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." Then she smiled and gave me a brownie. I love brownies. We started talking, and the wheelchair was a very nice person. What Mom said was true. She was just like you and me. She was just sitting down. And then in this illustration it says, "Wow, I like that too." Then a mean boy walked by and started teasing the girl in the wheelchair. I stood up and said, "Stop it. She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." And that's what this illustration says as well. "Stop it. She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down. And she's my best friend." She's my best friend. Then I gave her a smile. So on the back of the book, they actually talked a little bit more about the illustrator and the author, which was kind of cool. So this book was written in memory of Kimberly Gerworth Robb, who lived from 1966 to 2007. And so this is Kimberly right here, and this is Eliza. Kimberly is the illustrator, and our author is Eliza. Okay, so about the illustrator, so about Kimberly here. This book is in memory of Kimberly Gerworth Robb, the illustrator. Kimberly had muscular dystrophy, and even though she had a limited amount of muscle movement, she was a wonderful person that touched everyone she met. So that means that she made like a really positive impact in everyone's lives. Most of all, she was just like you and me. She was just sitting down. Thanks for everything, Kim. All right, so that's about Kimberly, our illustrator. We also have our author, Eliza. So it says about the author. Eliza Linovitz Snader has a master's degree in special education. She has been teaching grades kindergarten through 6th grade for 18 years. She is currently teaching in an elementary school classroom in Phoenix, Arizona. On weekends, she also works with adults with disabilities. Eliza loves dogs, and she even has a dog in a wheelchair due to illness. Now, I found that part really interesting, that she has a dog in a wheelchair due to illness, because I actually did not know this, but pets can have wheelchairs as well. So for example, here we have, I want to say this dog is a German Shepherd, but I don't quite know for sure, but I think it is. But he has a wheelchair. And then we also have this cute dog right here who also has a wheelchair. So you can see that even pets can have wheelchairs sometimes, which I think is really cool. So it's not just for humans, it's also for pets. All right, so for our read aloud, at the beginning of it, I asked you to think about 3 specific questions. Those questions were, what argument is the author trying to make? So remember that argument is both the claim plus the reasons and evidence. So there's a couple of different components to the argument. Then we talked about what is the author's claim. So I want you to be thinking about what that claim is. So in other words, what is the author's opinion? What is the statement that could kind of summarize what the author is trying to say? Our third question is, what are the author's reasons or evidence? So those reasons and evidence in the different pages. So I'm going to read this one last time, and I want you to write on your piece of paper, before I do that, I want you to write on your piece of paper argument, and then leave some space, and then claim, and leave some space, and reasons/evidence, and leave some space. So I'll give you some time to copy that right now for argument, claims, and reasons/evidence. And after you're all done with that, we're going to go through the book one last time so that as I'm reading and as you're listening, you can write down the argument, claim, and reasons/evidence. All right, so let's read it one last time. Okay, the wheelchair. It all started one day while walking to school with my mother. I saw it and I was scared. There was a girl riding by in a wheelchair. I hid behind my mother, and she told me, "It's okay. She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." I put my coat on the hanger that had my name on it, and the wheelchair hung her coat right next to mine. I heard my mom's voice. "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." I went to the desk with my name on it, and the wheelchair sat next to me. Again I heard, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." During class, the wheelchair kept raising her hand and answering all of the teacher's questions. I thought, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." At lunch, the wheelchair sat right by me. I thought, "She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down." Then she smiled and gave me a brownie. I love brownies. We started talking, and the wheelchair was a very nice person. What Mom said was true. She was just like you and me. She was just sitting down. Then a mean boy walked by and started teasing the girl in the wheelchair. I stood up and said, "Stop it. She's just like you and me. She's just sitting down. She's my best friend." Then I gave her a smile. All right, So if you haven't already, I would like you to take some time now to write down the argument that you think the author is trying to make. And again, the argument is going to be the claim plus the reasons/evidence. So I'm going to let you pause the video now and write down the argument. After you're all done writing the argument, my next step for you is that you're going to write down the author's claim. So remember that the claim is going to be an opinion or a statement. So I'll give you time to pause the video and do that. Your last step will be to write down the author's reasons and evidence. So I'll give you time to pause the video and do that. What reasons and evidence does the author give to support that claim? All right, so now it's time to check our work. Okay, so for argument that the author's trying to make, remember that the argument is going to be both the claim plus the reasons and evidence. So for example, and yours may look different, and that's okay, as long as it's kind of on the same page. So my example of an argument was, students who have wheelchairs are just like students who don't have wheelchairs. They're just sitting down. Both can participate in class, enjoy brownies, become friends with each other, etc. All right, and if you had something similar, that's also perfectly fine. For number 2, what is the author's claim? Remember that a claim is going to be the opinion or statement, so stating the opinion of the author, which is everyone has things in common. You can make friends with anyone and anyone can make friends with you. So kind of that theme of we all have similarities. And again, if you had something different, that's fine as long as it's kind of along the same page. Okay, what about the author's reasons/evidence? Well, I have 4 of them that the book provided. You may have more, you may have less, as long as you have some of these. So the first reason was the girl in the wheelchair participates in class and answers the teacher's questions. The second one is the girl in the wheelchair likes brownies, just like the boy in the story also likes brownies. Both characters have many things in common and become friends, and they both have similarities and differences that make them unique. All right, so if you had something similar to this, then that is awesome. All right, so for our next activity, you get to pick your own topic and write your argument, your claim, and your reasons and evidence. So I'm going to give an example. So if my topic was, should all middle school students be required to learn an instrument? Then my argument, which is my claim plus my reason/evidence, might look something like this. All middle school students should be required to learn an instrument. So notice that I am taking a stance here. And then I provide my reasons. Because it strengthens memory power, helps with hand-eye coordination, improves literacy skills, and is relaxing. So my next step would be the claim. The claim is my own opinion, my statement of my own opinion, which is learning an instrument benefits middle school students in many different ways. And this is actually going to be supported by facts, so supported by reasons and evidence as well, which I found out using research. So my reasons and evidence are learning an instrument benefits students because it uses both sides of the brain and strengthens memory power. It helps with hand-eye coordination. It improves literacy skills, so reading skills, comprehension skills, and it is relaxing. So those are my reasons and evidence. I'm going to give one more example. Okay, so if I have the topic of, should all students be required to learn a second language? Then my argument, which is my claim plus my reasons and evidence, might be, all students should be required to learn a second language because of its many benefits, including improving academic performance and memory, as well as increasing one's chances of being selected for a job. So my claim, which is my statement, could be, learning a second language benefits students in multiple ways. My reasons and evidence could look like this. Learning a second language benefits students because, and then improves performance in academic areas, improves memory, and knowing 2 languages improves one's chances of being selected for a job. Now I wanted to point something out really quick. Our reasons and evidence align with the reasons and evidence given in the argument because we have improves performance in academic areas. We have improving academic performance. We have improves memory. We have memory right here. And improves one's chances of being selected for a job. We have increases one's chances of being selected for a job. So notice that the argument and the reasons and evidence directly connect to each other. Okay, so now it is your turn. So again, you're going to come up with your own topic or choose one from the prompts. Then you'll make an argument, a claim, and your supporting reasons and evidence. So I suggested some prompts, but you don't have to follow them if you don't want to, because you can also create your own if you want to. So the prompts are books better than movies? Or maybe movies are better than books, depending on your own stance on this issue. And then the other suggestion was, should kids get paid to do household chores? So if you want, you can take either of these, or you can create your own topic. So that's going to be your first task, to write down your topic, whatever that topic is, to write down that topic on your piece of paper. That's going to be your first step. So you can pause the video and do that. All right, so after you're all done writing your topic down, next you're going to write the words argument with some space, and then claim with some space, and reasons/evidence with some space on your paper. And after you're all done writing argument, claim, and reason/evidence, now you're actually going to write it down. So you're going to write down the argument based on your topic. So your argument is going to be the claim plus the reasons and evidence. After you write down your argument, you'll write down your claim, and finally, you'll write down your reasons and evidence. Note that you can find your reasons and evidence through either research, books, your own thoughts, etc. So there's a couple of different sources for you to find your reasons and evidence. So again, on your piece of paper, you'll be writing down your argument, your claim, and the reasons and evidence for the topic that you chose. So I'm going to let you pause the video and do that. Awesome, great job. Okay, we're going to do this activity one last time, but I'm going to provide some different prompts, or you can choose your own. So the new prompts are, when is the best age for a kid or preteen to get a phone? The next one is, should all middle school students be required to learn an instrument? And then your third option is to just create your own topic. So it's kind of up to you. So at this time, you can pause the video and write the topic that you choose on your piece of paper. Awesome. Okay, your next step will be to write down your argument, your claim, and your reasons and evidence. And again, you can find those reasons and evidence through your research, through your informational books, or through your own thoughts. So again, you're writing your argument, claim, and reason/evidence. So you can pause the video and do that. Awesome job. All right, so this concludes the activity, and I would just like to recap the lesson briefly for you. So our topic was argument, claim, reasons, and evidence. And our goal for the lesson was being able to identify the argument, claims, reasons, and evidence in a text. That was our read aloud, and create our own arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence, which was the activity that we just completed. So our agenda was to first review vocabulary, then I would provide you with some examples of arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence. Finally, we would do a read aloud to identify each of these 4 components. Then we would pick our own topic to write down each of these 4 components. So you did a wonderful job. We also went over our vocabulary terms of persuade, which means to convince someone of one's own point of view, remembering that there's always going to be at least 2 sides to the issue. We went over our vocabulary word of argument, which is reasons, given to persuade another person of one's own point of view, which involves the claim, as well as the reasons, evidence, and details. Then we talked about the claim, which is the person's point of view or opinion, so it's kind of like a statement. Then we talked about the reasons, which are the explanations for why the person believes his or her own point of view is correct. And then we looked at evidence, which is the proof or facts that support the person's point of view. So if you want to, you can pause the video and write down the definitions for these vocabulary words. So let you pause the video and do that. Awesome. So after reviewing all of these vocabulary words, I then showed you an example using recycling. And so we had our argument of recycling should be required. That's our claim, plus the reasons and evidence, which is because it reduces pollution and is good for the environment. Then we had our claim statement of everyone should be required to recycle. Then I provided 3 reasons for why everyone should be required to recycle, which is that it's good for the environment, reduces trash in landfills, and is easy to do. And finally, I provided some evidence for each reason. So I had this evidence to support this reason, this piece of evidence to support this reason, and these 3 pieces of evidence to support this reason. So again, evidence is found through research or informational books, those kinds of main sources. So I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson on arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence, and I will see you back soon for another one.